Hello, hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr. First, right out the gate, there's like an angry emoji reaction. I'm assuming that has to do with the title and the fact that we're going to talk about Colin Kaepernick and Cori Bush and race baiting. And I'm no fan of Kaepernick, and for so many reasons, which I guess we will get into today. And I can't promise it'll only be today, but we're definitely going to talk about it today. But he's putting out a graphic novel in which he details some events about his parents, and he's like, I love them, but there's some problematic things like their reaction to his corn rolls. And I'm just like, there's so many things that he's done that I think most people should find embarrassing, that he should just go crawl under a rock and just until there's nothing left of him. I He's the worst. Cori Bush also was questioning Alex Epstein, and who's really big into fossil fuels and defending fossil fuels. Actually, he wrote a book called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, and she was offended because he said Western culture was better than other cultures, and she took that to mean something racist, which he defended. So he had a good defense. So I want to go ahead and highlight her stupidity in his defense of his positions, and chit chat a little bit about that. But also Jane Fonda apparently said we need to kill pro-life politicians. I hope it's really no one, but I think, or I don't know if it's all of us, but Jane Fonda's coming for us. So we'll be talking about those things today. But before we jump into it, I'm going to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. Please go ahead and look at different merchandise that we have at the store that does help support the show. Let me, I guess, show a thing or two. We got the though I guess you'd want to kill the pro-life men too, but the pro-choice men are sus. We got that one. We got the sus stands for suspect, the Constitution's Glorious Liberty document, Black Tea mug, etc. You guys can check out the merch. If you like what I do here at blacktnews.com, please consider going to the website and going to the donate page and contributing a gift. You have not because you asked not, so I'm going to go ahead and ask. So if you can, cost to stream, run my website, cost to do a bunch of different things to have this going. So if you would like to help with that overhead and help expand Black Tea, go ahead and do that. My watch hours for YouTube have I'm almost where I need to be to do some other sort of things. So I do appreciate people who jumped on and who've been watching and supporting. Everything does really help when you watch, when you comment, when you tag other people and ask them to watch. It does really help. So I'm grateful and thankful. But if you want to go that extra mile, please consider doing that and going to the website. Also, March is reading month. Go ahead and check out some of my books that I have. If you just search my name on Amazon, Christina L. Barr, you'll find my stuff. I have 15 published books that are out right now. I have historical fiction fantasy books, books about vampires and werewolves and mermaids and demon hunters and all kinds of stuff, and one like faith book. Well, they all have like speckled elements of like my beliefs throughout on it, obviously, but there's one nonfiction book that I wrote during the pandemic called Slayer Fear, and I really wish people had listened and grabbed a hold of that, but it's still available. It's not specifically about COVID, but that I got the idea from that because I was thinking about it was Star Wars Day. It was May the 4th, because May the 4th be with you. And I was thinking about Yoda's line about how fear is a path to the dark side. And so that's actually how the book opens up. But yeah. Go check that out. Also got children's books, Super Kid 2. The kids tell me it's epic. So it's got a lot of great morals and values and things in there that she'd want to pass on to kids. And also it's very epic. That's what I'm told. It's, very adventurous. Um, for you woke folks out there, it's inclusive, diverse. I don't know. Yes, go ahead. I also did the art for it. As well. So it's there's a couple of pictures inside. It's not a picture book. It is a chapter book. So there's only a few pictures inside, but it's a good read. It's a good read, and if you want to read it with your kids, it'll make you laugh. So I still chuckle reading it. So I think it's funny anyway. And also, don't forget, of course, guys, Blatantly Against Abortion, that's available for pre-order. Okay, so you guys know that I like to start with a meme. I don't know if I'm gonna go right into the story from the meme, because with YouTube, sometimes if you play something, they'll cut it for a little bit. So I'm gonna test my luck at the end of the broadcast with the view. They'll let it play back eventually, but sometimes when it's some corporations, they'll you know disrupt it a little bit. And ABC, sometimes with the view, they're picky. So I'll play this clip of Jane Fonda at the end, but I wanted to at least show this meme, and I saw this on the Right to Bear memes page. I think this is his meme, but Jane Fonda, when she sees a pro-life politician, so she's slowly morphing into Hillary Clinton, and of course there's all the jokes with Hillary Clinton as that she kills people. So so if you can worrying about what this is about, she was on The View, and they were talking about abortion, and she's like, we're not going back. And like, what are we gonna do? And she's like, kill them. And they're like, what? And they're like, don't say that. And they're like, yeah, that's just a joke. But she looks very serious as she's saying that. And it's I'm gonna assume that it's a joke, although there are and have been violent extremists that have gone out to disrupt churches, vandalize churches, burn down pregnancy crisis centers. Funny how it's suddenly not about choice, because if the only thing that you uphold is abortion, that's the only thing that you fight to really protect. Are you supporting choice or just this particular option? Because it seems like, especially like politicians like my governor Gretchen Whitmer, she's not interested in there being alternatives. They're just interested in protecting women on this path, protecting that choice on that path, instead of, if you really 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 feel that you need to, it's there, but let's really 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 highlight these other options so you don't do that. It doesn't, there's not that equal balance of that at all. So especially where people invest their time and their money, you can really see what they value, especially when you threaten to kill people. And on the show, they're like, oh, they're gonna take this and they're gonna say stuff, and yeah, it's gonna get clipped and people are gonna talk about it, because it's a heck of a thing to joke about, especially in the political climate. But to feel that way, to even joke about it, is a bit insane, especially especially since they're like, well, we care about alive people, and of course the unborn are alive, but it's like it just kind of seems like you care about not being obstructed when you decide to do something. It doesn't seem like it's a bodily we'll get into that segment when we get to that segment at the end. There's lots of thoughts spilling out now, but I just wanted to show the meme, start off with my meme, because that's what I normally do. But I want to start off with Cori Bush here. She was questioning, or really slandered the character of Alex Epstein, who is someone who really makes a moral case for fossil fuels. And she threw in her buzzwords and accused him of being a white supremacist. So I want to go ahead and play her response, and it's cut and it goes to his response, responding to the things that she said.
Colleagues have unironically invited for-profit think tank and oil titans whose expertise is in maximizing profits. especially at the expense of our Black, our brown, and our indigenous neighbors' health.
Um, I I love how they're like, she throws out they maximize profits as if that's a bad thing to make money. But it you know, people are so passionate about if people are passionate about climate change and racial justice, not racial justice, but justice in general, police brutality, um this route that they go on the left to make everything so racial where they just exclude white people. I don't understand the overall goal of that other than grifting on and inflaming racial tensions, because most people, when I hear talk about something like, let's say, police brutality and the police being militarized and um protecting your rights and no knock warrants and all that, I've heard more white people talk about those things, be passionate about those things, and being informed, I guess, about those things as far as the law and the and rights and other things like that. So why make it so that it has to be such a dividing line here? You know, because Colin Kaepernick, and we'll get to him later, but listening to guys like that doing the kneeling protest and, you know, watching his documentary on Netflix or whatever, he gets the flash, he gets the money, he gets the attention. But as far as actually doing the groundwork and trying to make moves, the best thing you folks can really do is go team up with your libertarian leaning Republicans, folks like your Rand Pauls, who want to get things done. Like when they had the RNC convention and Rand Paul was like coming from the White House, he was like surrounded by the Antifa, the protesters, and the Capitol Police that had their bikes and they were trying to protect him. And people, you know, were trying to play it down like that wasn't a dangerous situation for him or a nerve-wracking situation for him to be in. Mind you, he's already been attacked by a crazy neighbor person and shot at for political purposes. So if anyone has a reason to be like, I'm in danger, it's Rand Paul. But people are coming at him and they're yelling stuff like, oh, this is for Breonna Taylor and other stuff like that. He's the one who was trying to introduce legislation as a result of what happened there. So do you not really, you just don't care at all? You just want to lash out at the world. You don't want to do anything productive because teaming up would be in the best interest to go toward a path to get something done if the goal is to actually be productive and solve problems. But unfortunately, that's not what we normally actually see. Tammy Bruce, who's a Fox News contributor, she used to be maybe she does still identify as a feminist to some degree, at least an old school, but she's not a liberal anymore. She's a conservative, and she's a concept, and she's a lesbian woman. She used to be like a president of a chapter of some feminist organization. I think it was now in like in California. But she realized that feminists or the left, will just say in general from her observation, is that they didn't want to solve much. They just it was like there were more problems that they always kind of needed. And there's folks on the right who do that too. I'm not gonna lie, but it's really seems to be an issue there, and that's what she observed, and that's why she didn't kind of want anything else to kind of do about it, because there's always like these microaggressions, and we'll get more into that when you get to Kaepernick. But Cori Bush, if you don't know Cori Bush, do you guys remember that couple who had the guns on the property and they were like marching and stuff? That was like her I don't know if leading is too strong a word, but she was there, and she's an activist. She's super woke, and she's just the worst. But she's a congresswoman. One before I play this, she was talking about defunding the police. She's one of those people who really want to defund the police and stuff, though they shift their language. I don't know how much she's actually shifted her language toward it, but she's a defund the police person, and so people were questioning her security, which, by the way, she pays her relative like a lot of money for her security, but and who's not actually qualified to do it, so it just kind of looks like they're money laundering a bit, and maybe that's not quite a fair of a word, but she's paying someone who's a lot of money to do a job that they're not qualified for, probably because she's her family. um but they were asking her about her security, and they're like, how can you want private citizens to not have the police around, but you want to have armed security protecting you? And her response was, you want me to die? It's like, well, do you want everyone else to die? So you're the only important person? I think everyone is responsible for their self-preservation. But it's nice to have police, and people will call the police. And you know what? Black people call the police in a hot second, hot minute. Yes, we do. We call the police. Absolutely, we do. Let's keep watching.
Safety and well-being. One of these so-called energy experts is a philosopher who has previously espoused white supremacist views. For instance, in his 2000 college newspaper, he wrote, quote, "The African and American Studies Department has 23 classes. In many of these classes, African culture is presented not as inferior to Western culture, but as on equal footing with it. In other departments, the same is done with Latin American, Indian, and American Indian culture," end quote. When confronted about these views over 2 decades later, rather than disavow them, he doubled down on this narrative, saying, quote, "It has nothing to do with skin color. I was arguing that those cultures overall are inferior to Western culture." We are not inferior to any culture, speaking as a descendant of one of those cultures. This is the witness the Republicans invited to discuss issues of energy security. He came here to promote fossil fuels, which we know are disproportionately harming and killing Black and brown people.
And I recognize Alex Epstein.
So if we want to talk about something that's disproportionately impacting Black and brown people, what about high gas prices? You know, that one thing about climate justice, as I say, Obama was once like lecturing about people who wanted to go into more to use their fossil fuels and stuff, like over in like third world countries, to build their economy, and he's lecturing them and like they need to scale back, and it's like, you guys had all this time to progress and get to where you are. You like, we don't use this stuff, we die. Like, where is this moral superiority you're coming at when you've had all these benefits and we want to live? we just want to live, Rambo. And they just go ahead and lecture. But yeah, gas prices are tough for a lot of people, everybody across the spectrum, across different races. But I don't understand this climate justice. Like, ma'am, we are not all out here buying electric cars, and we need to put gas in our tanks so we can get to work, so we can make money to provide for our families, whether they're white, Black, or brown, etc. So fossil fuels, which he writes a lot about, the moral case of them, has really helped advance people into a positive trajectory, including lifting the world out of extreme poverty, and making our lives extremely at ease compared to what people used to do in the past. Like, it's a miracle how we've been able to utilize these materials. So and then at the same time, these people don't want like nuclear and other stuff like that. It's just they want to find a way to continue funneling money and these carbon emission scams. Like, it's like they really don't want to solve the problem. They just want to benefit from the hysteria of it. So anyway,
to please begin his opening statement. And because you were directly mentioned as a chairman's discretion, I want to give you an additional minute if you'd like to address the allegations levied on you against the ranking member.
Yeah, it would be great if they put up the cards again. Yeah, so thanks for giving me a minute to address truly despicable and false attack on me, claiming that anything I've ever said is white supremacist and then trying to imply that that somehow applies today. So I don't know if you want to put those cards back up, but what I argued and what I've argued for my entire adult life is that Western culture is superior in the sense that it promotes individualism and freedom. And I have fought my entire life for freedom around the world, including in Africa, including in Asia, including in India. And I want everyone around the world to have the same opportunities that I do in the United States. There are different places around the world that are in many ways inferior. They have female genital mutilation. They have slavery. These are not as good as not mutilating females' genitals and not enslaving people. And so I make no apology. And the idea that this is associated with skin color is despicable and racist. Skin color has nothing to do with ideas. Where you came from geographically is irrelevant. What's relevant is what's true. So you can ask more about that, but that was an insane diversion from the truth.
And Mr. Epstein, just a little off topic, but Western culture that you mentioned could exist in countries, let's say in Japan.
Well, yeah, and it has proliferated to the great benefit of all. And it's not really about the location. It's about individualism and freedom and reason. So it's certain values that are universal human values. The idea that freedom and reason and individualism only apply to people of certain skin colors, that is the actual original racist idea versus no. Whatever your skin color is, these ideas are true and good for human flourishing.
So, Cori Bush, I mean, everybody's going to debate like what country is the best or different cultures and the benefits of who's superior, who's not, or whatever. But I mean, I'm Team America. But Cori Bush, she's a grown woman. She has some means. If there's better cultures that are superior, especially where she's come from geographically, why not go there? And I know people don't like if you don't like it here, leave. But seriously, like why would you remain? I mean, unless you want to make the United States more like those other cultures. So, if she's talking about the culture she descended from, so would she like to I don't know, make the U.S. more like wherever her ancestors got sold from in Africa? Like, come on. And I know we carried over slavery. I mean, had slavery and stuff here in the U.S. and obviously got rid of it, and then got rid of it in the West. But there's still places in other parts of the world where they are doing heinous things. So why is it such a terrible thing to note that some cultures are better than others, some places we feel are better than others, and that's even if you disagree, having that opinion is not racist. Various places around the world, America is not the only like diverse place in the world. The West is not just a place for white folks now. I mean, it's a place of diverse ideas and ethnicities, and we've come together on different ideals. And he said it's individualism and freedom and liberty. And I don't think those things are bad. So I know she has her way of reading into it, but she would continue to just be the worst. She would just continue to be the worst. Okay, let's go to Cap. Colin Kaepernick. So he's come out with a comic book. Let me find it and share my screen for a second. So he's coming out with a graphic novel, and I'm like, who the heck is making this graphic novel? Well, I'll play this video and then I will show the screenshots. Well, the scans rather of the comic. I think I gotta. If I downloaded it, okay. I'm so annoyed with this dude, and we'll get to why. Okay.
I know my parents love me, but there were still very problematic things that I went through. I think it was important to show that, no, this can happen in your own home, and how we move forward collectively while addressing the racism that is being perpetuated.
He took cues from his icon, basketball star Allen Iverson, who he said wore his blackness like a suit of armor. And teenage Kaepernick wanted cornrows to match. He's getting what roles, his mom asked?
Oh, your hair's not professional. Oh, you look like a little thug.
Your mom
Become.
said that to you.
Yeah. And those become spaces where it's like, okay, how do I navigate this situation now? But it also is informed why I have my hair long today. I know my parents love me.
Okay,
but there were
let's
still
replay.
very
Since we're here, so I had a meme. I have no idea what happened with his biological parents, but someone made this meme that said impressive. Now do your real parents. I feel terrible for laughing at that, but just in meme world, I'll say that was a good meme. That was a good meme. So look. Immediately, I don't know if you guys watch Chris Rock's comedy routine. I didn't watch it. I've just seen some clips, and if you've just seen some clips, I'm sure you've probably seen the same clips that I have. But he of course talked about Will Smith, but he also talked about Meghan Markle and how what she went through wasn't racism. And he gave an example. He's like, "Oh, Oprah, they wanted to know what color, how dark the baby would be, how black the baby would be." He's like, "That's not racism." He's like, "That's just some in-law stuff." And he cursed. And he's like, "Because even black people want to know what color the baby's gonna be." and people start laughing because they know that's true. They ask those questions. They're curious about the skin tone. My sister, she's 4 kids now. And she's married to a white man. She's lighter than me. And she really likes, I guess, the complexion of my sister who's right above me. And so she wanted a baby that was a bit browner. And I'm just like, I don't know. How are you gonna accomplish that? I wasn't optimistic. Her husband has a bit of Afghan in him as well. I don't know how much, but I'm just like, I don't know how you're gonna accomplish that. So, but her third baby, her second girl is brown. And now she reached and she got some of them genes that she wanted. They're all such beautiful kids though. But yeah, sometimes people have those conversations. It's not because she loves one any less, but or that any of them are less cute than the other. They are some gorgeous babies. The girls are so pretty, and the young men are handsome. The youngest is Noah. He's just turned a year. The oldest is Daniel. So the boy, 2 girls, and then another boy. But people do ask those questions. So crying to Oprah about, I don't know, the injustice of her in-laws, whether they be white or not, asking like how brown the baby will be, I don't think that's that weird of a question. At least, and you can think it's rude or be alarmed or whatever, but people are just too sensitive. I'm sorry. People are just too sensitive. So people might be upset because now I'm dismissing or belittling his cornrow statement. I'm like, people make comments about hair all the time. You can say it's rooted in racism. It's rooted. People have different outlooks, perspectives. People view stuff as professional or not professional. It's just the truth. You cannot like it, but it is what it is. People, when I do some skits sometimes when I'm pretending to be liberal, and I'll go back and forth with myself. What color is my hair when I do that? If anyone's seen it, is it not purple? And people laugh at the purple hair because that's what they perceive, that a leftist would do that to their hair. that some kind of feminist would do that to their hair. Not and there's people who I follow who are very conservative, who or people who have left the left and they just like to color their hair. But that's just a perception that people have with the hair. People in the comments of this, I'm talking about the cornrows, people are saying like, oh, my mom, a white guy was like, my mom told me to cut my hair because she didn't want me to look like a hippie. People have conversations about hair. I just don't think it was worth you blasting your parents in a graphic novel on national TV who took you in, and you've already like race baited the crap out of the world. I'm sure we all know Colin Kaepernick. Excuse me, he's the one who did the kneeling with the NFL protests and wouldn't stand for the national anthem and causes big national divide. How can you be proud of causing this big national divide over something that's literally supposed to unite us all? It's like the reason why the Star Spangled Banner, which by the way, I wrote an article about the Black national anthem, which no one called it that during the performance at NFL. If you haven't read the article, just please go read the article. But lift every voice, and I mentioned in my long form video when I went live about it, but also in a short video, that it's been referred to that. It's a nickname. I don't want to go start a new nation. No one wants to do that. It's not obviously official. But I did mention that people were calling that longer than the actual Star Spangled Banner has been the national anthem, and some people tried to push back against that. And the national anthem, Lift Every Voice, was written in 1900 and 19. Gosh, what year was it? Was it 1919 or I don't know? It was a 1910. 11 some or I can't remember the exact year now, but the Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem like officially in 1931 under Herbert Hoover. That's when it became official. So regardless of me brain farting on the actual year that the NAACP was the one who like dubbed it that, it is, I just want to throw out that fact there. That the Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem in 1931, but originally became the national anthem, or how it gained popularity, is because after the Civil War, when we had this animosity between the North and the South, and the fighting, obviously, that tore the nation apart, we needed some kind of national symbol, some kind of national identity to unify around, and people agreed that it was the flag. So the Star Spangled Banner, the song about this it's a war song, a big battle song, and the flag is still continuously waving on through the battle and so on. So that became a song that people were singing a lot because it's about the flag. They would sing it, in bars along with other patriotic songs, and it became a song that they started singing in sports arenas. And then it became something that Woodrow Wilson made it like the official like song of the military or Navy or something along those lines. And then it officially became the national anthem in 1931. So that's the history of that. So it was designed, and the flag is something that's meant to bring us together. The song is something that's supposed to unite the country, whether you're rooting for this team or I'm rooting for that team. In that moment, we all stand, put our hands on our, over our hearts, and we sing the song together, hoping that the person can carry a tune and do it very well and not pull like a Fergie, and be moved to tears and love our nation, etc. But he started this huge divide, and there was originally a poll that most Americans thought it was not good to do something like that, and then Trump like weighed in, and all of a sudden it was like 50-50 because I know people felt like they really needed to pick sides. Funny story, Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually commented on Kaepernick kneeling, and she thought it was stupid. She thought it was dumb. and the press hid it, like they didn't report on it because they didn't want people to think badly of her. They didn't want to be her, they didn't want folks to be mad at her because she had the wrong opinion for the lefties at the time. So they just hid this thing. So just another fun fact, but I hated that so much. And then another thing that was so annoying, which Stephen A. Smith like went off about Colin Kaepernick when they asked Colin Kaepernick who he voted for. He said he didn't vote. And this was like 2016. And Stephen A. Smith went off because you do these grand gestures, but when it comes to actual civic engagement that's important, you tap out. And so we of course, like the presidential race always like takes our mind and we're invested in it and we're most interested in, etc. But the truth is that we need to be concerned about local politics, because the local politics are going to control what happens as far as our justice system, as far as the police and how they operate, and different laws that affect our lives. So if you're going to be like politically engaged and want to make positive change, but you don't even care enough to go to the polls and vote for who could be sheriff, that's messed up. So I was glad that Stephen A. Smith went off on him after that, and he was like, I don't want to hear anything else he has to say. But he never went away, and he kept continuously grifting. He was complaining that he wasn't getting a fair shot with the football and other stuff, and was trying to be this martyr and getting paid all this money. And I was trying to find a screenshot of something he said about Colin Kaepernick after that decision. And I'm sorry, Kyle Rittenhouse after that decision. It was so race baity and cringe, but I couldn't find it before the show started. But he's just continues to be the worst. But I'm sure you guys probably recall the slave auction thing from Netflix. If you don't, I will play it for you, because this is something that, after doing such a thing as this, you really need to crawl into a hole in obscurity, and everyone just ignores you eternally forever, because this is just embarrassing.
Protests rocked the NFL, and now Colin Kaepernick's causing controversy with his new Netflix series in which he compares the way the NFL scouts for players to the slave trade. Here's Les Trent.
Colin Kaepernick is at the center of a new controversy over this scene from his new Netflix series, Colin in Black and White. Actors playing prospective NFL players who dramatically turn into slaves headed to the auction block. Yep, the former NFL player compares the league's draft process to the slave auction block.
The NFL Scouting Combine happens every February. Prospects for the NFL draft attend a week of skill and endurance tests. At one stage, all players are weighed and measured wearing only shorts.
Before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected, no dignity left intact.
Look at this here. Come on, who wants this?
The scene cuts back and forth between slave owners and coaches. On Fox News, a former NFL player slammed Kaepernick.
A process of someone living their dream, going to the National Football League, comparing that to slavery, it's gone overboard.
The film's co-creator, Ava DuVernay, appeared on CBS Mornings. Co-anchor Nate Burleson, a former NFL player, weighed in.
I remember going to pro days in the combine, sitting there with my shirt off and shorts, and them, seeing how big my hands were and how happy I was once I got on the scale. The difference is slavery was free labor. Now these young men and women who come from circumstances that might be harsh have a chance to reset financially.
Jeez. So this caused a big ruckus at the time when this came out. It was just so dumb and disrespectful. and then he won it back in the NFL. Like you complained, you went to the NFL, you complained about them being unfair to you, and then you wanted to audition or whatever and come back. You did your dumb movie, and then you wanted to come back after you called it a slave auction. So, or compared to a slave auction. So we can know what we know from history and reading, accounts of those things. We can look at films that try to depict it, and every way you look at it, it's super offensive and disgusting. I had never seen like 12 Years a Slave before, but they have but I saw it on the airplane when I went to Vegas, and there is a scene there when they have a slave auction, and it's just so, it should be humiliating. It should have been too humiliating and cringeworthy to actually be in the editing room and to put that together for the world to see, and to do it so seriously in his black suit with his big afro. How can you be so disrespectful and ungrateful at the same time? You had to stand there in your underwear while they weighed you. Do you know where else they do that? On The Biggest Loser. Because when they're weighing you, you don't want an accurate read on the scale. So you strip down. Big people, they get on the scale and they'll be like, let me take off these pants, see if that helps it a bit. It's so degrading. And he just keeps going as if he's not a dang fool. I would crawl in a hole and just die. Like, the fact that anyone wants to take him serious, and I don't know if any major distributor or whatever is picking up his book, because I sure was looking. I'm like, this ain't Marvel or DC or nobody, is it? And it said like Kaepernick Publishing or something. So I guess he's doing it himself. Somebody will pick it up. They'll put it somewhere in different places. Maybe they'll push it in I don't know, in woke schools or something for kids to look at and understand racism. But I'm not saying that he hasn't experienced awkward or even racial things, just as a man, as a mixed man or a black man, or someone who's been adopted by, two white parents. Like, I'm not doubting that he's had experiences that made him uncomfortable at all, or that were flat out racial. I'm not saying that, because I can tell you that I have. It's not something that I don't know, I'm trying to make a fortune off of, and grift into, to be the rest of my life. But the fact that he would make that sort of comparison when they're all like millionaires given this great shot, and compare it to a slave auction, be like, nothing is, there's no dignity left. Like, are you kidding me? Because they want to know your wingspan, the length of your arms. How else are they supposed to measure? How else are they supposed to measure you? How else are they supposed to measure you? They were auctioning the slaves at the auction. You are getting paid. You are getting paid as an NFL player. Just really disrespectful. So let me go to the article and just go through some scans really quick. The New York Post wrote about it, and some people are complaining about the headline and stuff. I'm like, I don't understand why. I mean, it says Colin Kaepernick accuses white adoptive parents of problematic upbringing, perpetuating racism. That's exactly what he's doing. Exactly what he's doing. So we'll look at a little bit of the scans. You guys can look into it yourselves. I'm not going to read it all with you. But let me get rid of that ad there. Got a lot of ads. There's his parents, his supportive parents who helped him fulfill his dream. The support. He has a section in here about a friend of his friend of his dad who comes up and starts talking to him, and he's like, my dad must have seen it, and it's a Confederate flag on a hat. And how does he know that his dad did notice it? Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I can understand why he'd be upset about it. Though I know people have various opinions about the flag, but I can understand that. But I don't know. After the slave auction thing, I would take everything he does regarding these kind of issues with a grain of salt. I hope no one picks up this thing. I hope no one picks up this thing. Because he's just the worst. Just the worst. So everybody thinks it's a pretty crappy thing to bring up the stuff in public light to embarrass his parents like that. Now, everyone can grow and learn and do better and be better. But I don't think you should get those life lessons from Colin Kaepernick. Not in the least bit. Not yet. Boxers. Someone said boxers do weigh-ins. Boxers also do weigh-ins. Which, by the way, since we're on the topic, did anybody see Creed 3? I'll leave it for the very end. I'll leave it for the very end because I want to say something that's a bit of a spoiler. So if you want to tune out, you can tune out. So I'll leave it to the very end. But there was something that it was okay. People definitely like it more than I did. It was all right. But there was one thing that really bothers me about the series, and I'll get to that in the end. But I want to move on to the Jane Fonda thing. Jane Fonda was on The View, and I know I talked about it a little bit, but she said that she wanted to kill or thought we should kill pro-lifers, and they're like, "Don't say that," and she makes a face, and it didn't really seem like she wanted to clean it up at all. And I want to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she doesn't literally want to do that, or maybe she wouldn't have the guts, I guess, to do it herself. But we have a very heightened political climate where there actually has been like political violence regarding this topic. There was someone who was canvassing in Michigan, an elderly lady, against Prop 3, and someone shot her. Of course, there was the protests that were happening at the justices' houses, and someone wanted to came to kill Kavanaugh. So I'm not saying that she's responsible if she says something and someone goes out and does something, but it's just a heck of a thing to say, and to feel that way, to joke about it in the way that she did. So I'll go ahead and play it.
We have experienced many decades now of having agency over our body, of being able to determine when and how many children to have. We know what that feels like. We know what that's done for our lives. We're not going back. I don't care what the laws are. We're not going back.
I think the women will rise up. That's the activist. That's Jane speaking, and she probably will get a Nobel Prize.
But it's the truth.
Very soon.
It is the truth. We're not going to do it.
Besides marching and protesting, what else do you suggest? Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say?
Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just kidding.
Don't say that. That's
you don't know. They'll pick up on that and just run with it.
The worst.
She's just kidding.
Well, let me talk to you about. Let's move on and talk about Jane's activism, which is legendary.
Why are they laughing like that? They laughed, and then she repeated it, and then they laughed louder, and then people saw her face, and then laughed at her reaction of her face of saying we should murder people. So that's a heck of a thing. So one thing I want to note about her comment saying that women have had agency and we're not going to go back is that women don't lose agency just because if abortion gets outlawed. Like we still have agency, and we have agency when the deed is done that makes the baby. The choice, you can't just say women's choice like it's so sacred, but then ignore all the other choices that led to that decision. So the question is, and there's so many ethical questions about whether the woman is obligated to have sure resources, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. But there's one important thing to note that I think that really trumps that. Like, do you have the right to kill someone, to actively kill someone? I would wager you don't. And you're like, and people will say like, well, if you use the pill, it's just denying your resources. Like, where'd you get the pill? Where'd you get that from? You didn't will you got a pill. You got something that. So society has to consent to giving you resources to do the deed that you want to do. And most abortions are actually like the suction D&C. I think that's actually the most popular, or if not, it's close. I like abortions like in the first trimester or before 15 weeks at least. Those are the ones that it happened the most in that time frame early on. But just because a lot of people it happens early on doesn't mean that people are using the pill in those times. You use a pill normally before 10 weeks, but like 8 weeks and up and stuff, people are using or maybe even earlier, but when you actually look at the numbers, I was surprised how many at that point in time are not even using the pill. They use the suction thing, and at that point you're dismembering. So do you have the right to dismember someone, to actively take those actions? I don't think so. I think that's trumping the powers in your authority and on the matter. So you got to make that case while you can. But even if you're a pregnant woman, I promise you still have agency. You still can make decisions. You still have rights. You can still, just have a life. You can still work. You can still go to the movies. You can no one can tie you up in a lab and just experiment on you and hold you captive. And if you call the police, they won't be like, I can't do anything for you because you're a pregnant woman now. You have no rights. No one does that. Like you don't lose your ability to make decisions over your life and your body and your family, and your life doesn't stop. It's definitely changed. No one's gonna say that it isn't, but you still have agency. No one's losing their sense of agency. I don't like the hysteria around these conversations. Like you still of course have agency, and you have agency prior to being pregnant, I don't like that so many people use it as a crutch, especially like as an alternate form of birth control. And people say, no, we don't. If you look at the reasons why women have abortions, yeah, you do. If the reason is you have an abortion because you don't want to have a baby and you don't want to be pregnant, and because of your job or because of economic reasons or because you're not ready because of relation, like those are all like your birth, whether you didn't take it or it failed, like it's a backup birth control. It's not like a medical life or death, you got to choose me or the baby situation. A lot of reasons are materialistic. You can just look at the numbers. I'm not saying there's not more depth to it or emotion surrounding those things. But my point still stands. Anyway, what a crazy thing to say. What a crazy thing to say. And then they just laughed and applauded. We're in a weird place. Anyway, please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, you consider leaving a donation at the website. Check out different books and merch that I have. If you go to Black Tea News and hit the merchandise button, there'll be a banner at the top that has my books on it, but you can just search my name on Amazon and you'll find it. So you can leave if you want to. They're not big spoilers. Well, one's kind of a big spoiler, but it's not about the fight. So I was watching Creed. I was watching Creed. I was watching some clips of Rocky, and it was the one where I guess it was Mr. T, the third one, when he's trained by Apollo, and Apollo comes in and he's talking about how you lost, your edge, Rock, and he's like, I want to train you, and Rocky's like, oh, I'm interested or whatever. So there's a line where Apollo mentions his kids, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, kids, and then I'm like, there's no kids in the Creed series though. I'm like, why do they have Adonis in there and not he has kids? So I'm immediately like, and I've seen the film before, I just didn't remember. So I'm trying to I'm like, I don't think they were mentioned at all. So in my mind, I'm like, did they just erase his children so they could have this story about the bastard son? I'm like, that seems like a bold choice. I'm like, why do that? I'm like, did they just change the mythology of Rocky and retcon these kids? So I mentioned it to my sister, and she's seen these films way more than I have, and she couldn't recall much of anything. So we watched the first Creed movie again, and there is it when it comes out that he is a Creed, Adonis is a Creed. ESPN or some news channel, sports channels talking about it, and they do mention that he's the youngest. So I'm like, okay, so these other kids exist, and but they don't mention their names, or you don't see the kids, the older siblings. And there's a son and there's a daughter, and they do mention, like, on the headline, speculating like, oh, this has got to be embarrassing for the family, so maybe that's why they kept it a secret, etc. And that's all the kind of tone you get about them. And I don't think anything was mentioned in the second Creed movie, but in the third one, and everybody was saying this film is about family. It's about family. It's about family. It's about family. I'm like, okay. So I'm getting into some spoilers here. I don't think it's going to devastate you if you're planning to see the movie later, but I just want to let you know that there's some spoilers right here. So I'm like, are these kids in the movie? Like, are they going to show his siblings? Because I don't know, it bothered me a bit. They're not in the movie at all, unless they're just not named or there's any attention drawn to them, because his mom, his adoptive mother, dies in the film. At first she had a stroke, and I'm like, her kids aren't there. She had a stroke and it's only Adonis here. I'm like, this is okay. I mean, but sometimes you have one kid who's looking out and doing stuff. I don't know where the other ones live, etc. But it's pretty serious when I don't know what kind of falling out or whatever they all had, but over him, because there's some tension there somewhere, but her children are not there to be with her as she's had the stroke, even though the Adonis and Bianca are very worried about her. So then at one point in the film, Adonis is talking about his friend who is the villain, the person he faces in the movie, and has to compete. If you've seen the trailers, you know that. And is his name John? I can't think of what his name is in the film, but I think the actor is Jonathan Majors, right? Same guy who played He's a big villain in the MCU now. So he's been more of a family to me than your two kids. And she I won't tell you what she does to burst his bubble. I guess I already said there. Nah, I won't tell you. I won't tell you because I said it was going to be light spoilers. And so I won't tell you what she does to burst the bubble. But he did throw out there that his friend treated him better than her two kids. So there's some animosity there, tension, whatever. But she dies in the film. So I'm like, surely at the funeral, we will see these kids. So I'm watching them move the casket. And he's on one side, Adonis is on one side of the front, and the other person is his friend trainer, whatever. And I'm looking at the back of the casket. I don't know the people in the back. And they don't mention like, oh, that's the other siblings or whatever. They don't mention it. So I think this is so freaking weird. I think this is so weird. And I think it would have added some much needed depth, or could have, to the film. I know a lot of people really like it. It's okay. But imagine, and I'm going to go ahead and get it a little deeper in the spoiler. So if you want to click off, you can click off. Well, I guess I won't. I'm still not going to say that how she burst her bubble, but instead of his mom warning him and being like, are you sure you should trust this guy? If it was his brother who he already has tension with, and they don't like each other because he is the son who shouldn't exist or whatever, and his father cheated on his mom, and there's just his mere presence is a stain on the family. So according to, I guess whatever storylines they didn't actually flesh out in this trilogy, I think that would have added more drama, been juicier, added more depth. If he was like, are you sure you should trust him? Be like, man, you weren't there for me. You don't even like me. Blah. He could, if it went there, but to just like exclude them is so strange to me. I tried to add the actor and be like, why isn't, because he directed it, Michael B. Jordan. I'm like, why aren't the kids here? Hey, Bob, did anyone else see it? Did anyone notice that? I don't see anyone else talking about it, but I was just looking at the comments really quick. So yeah, it was so weird. It's so strange to me. And I don't know. I don't understand those choices at all, because they've like, it's going to be about family, but his family wasn't there. And now his mom is gone. And I mean, they had his wife, they had his daughter, and this friend from the past. But I don't know, I just felt like that would have had better tension, and because he has the family that he's chosen that isn't actually working out for him, and then he has a family that he's had this bitter past with. But if they could have reconciled and paralleled that, I just think that would have been better. So missed opportunity. In my opinion, I think it's weird, and it bothered me because I just don't understand. Why go that route, and to have her die and her kids not be there, and to have her be so sick and her kids not be there. I helped take care of my grandmother when she was really ill and she passed, and my dad was he had COVID, and this is before the vaccine came out. So before everyone's like, oh, was he vaccinated? This is before the vaccines even came out. Me and my sister who lived together, we moved in with my mom to be with my mom while he was in the hospital. It was a terrible experience. I've talked about it before. I won't go through the whole thing today, but he was in there a long time, and we stayed with them as we tried to help him recover. And I did end up leaving earlier than my sister did, but kudos to her and super kudos to my mom. But the family pulls together in situations like, so it seems so strange to me. And I know everybody's not the same. Not all families are close, but if her kids just extra out of her life really over Adonis, that wouldn't really messed up, but that would have been worth knowing. That would have been juicy to know. That would have been worth knowing. And I'll say this too, which I think is known because Sylvester Stallone mentioned that he's not in this film. He would come back, but the some other guys have to not be a part of it. But he wasn't in the film. They mentioned his name, Rocky, once, but to not call him either after his mom passed, or not get a call from Rocky. I'm like, why? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to tell somebody else about it. But yeah, you can go watch if you want to. It was okay. I could have waited, but it was okay experience seeing it with my family, I guess. But people enjoyed it more than I did, so go be your own judge. Thank you guys for watching. I did mention that I'll be preaching at my church tonight. I did, if anyone's in the Metro Detroit area, I did like post it on my YouTube and my Facebook, the community thing, and on Facebook, the address. So I'll be there 7:00 p.m. So if you want to come and hear me preach, you can come and do that. God bless. See you Monday.